Hi, welcome to Bot Brack. I'm Owen Box. So on my TV recall today, I'm going to be looking at one of the best British cop shows ever made, the Sweeney. So Sweeney is short for Sweeney Todd, which is Cockney rhyming slang for flying squad, and this concerns the activities of flying squad detectives Jack Regan, played by the brilliant John Ford, and George Carr, played by the equally great Dennis Waterman. The boss is played by Garfield Morgan. Frank Haskins is the character. It's a classic triangular thing that's favoured in Starsky and Hutch and The Professionals, and later Dempsey and Makepeace. So yeah, this show's brilliant. Very, like I said, very much a product of its time. Often features nasty criminals, but also looks at police corruption in a lot of episodes. Often they're accused of corruption, but Jack and George, although they bend the rules, they are clean. If I had to look for a cinematic equivalent of the Jack Regan character, Gene Hackman's Popeye Doyle would be a good comparison. Obviously at this time, 60s, 70s, 80s, there's, the inferences that our police force does have elements of corruption. And that bears fruit in the Birmingham 6, Guildford 4 cases, race relations, places like Liverpool, Tottenham, in the 70s, policing of black communities. Then you get the miners' strike, how the police are used in that. Hillsborough, then how the Yorkshire police as well, who did the Ripper killings, and then finally sort of hitting its peak with the Stephen Lawrence case, and then things having to be improved and investigated in policing, although there's still things going on. So this is very much part of that time. It actually started as a pilot. They made an armchair thriller type thing. I think it was called Armchair Theatre, a thing called Regan. It was well received with the Jack Regan character, written by Ian McKennedy Martin. It was a 90-minute thing. And it was specifically written for John Ford. John Ford is one of the great TV actors in this country. He's famous for Inspector Morse as well, sadly missed. So, but the first, once the series was commissioned, the first episode premiered on 2nd of January 1975, so slap bang in the middle of the 70s. It would have been the new season of TV things for that season. So, first series, these are all 13 episodes long, apart from the last series, which is 14. Opening episode is a strong opener. This comes out of the blocks running. Had a great TV theme. The first 3 series had a great credit sequence with great sort of documentary style photographs. Just really good. And they had a different arrangement of the theme at the end. Always had good guest stars, which I'll look at in a bit. So Ringer, this is your classic Sweeney. It's armed robbery. They're using a transit van. And it's got great guest stars, Brian Blessed and Ian Hendry. Interesting in this, it alludes to the fact that they're lovers. So spoiler alert, when Brian Blessed's character gets killed at the end, Ian Hendry's visibly more upset than he might be. Normally quite interesting. Pretty much, I can remember a lot of these episodes. I haven't watched it for a while. But the last episode, Regan's daughter's kidnapped. Of course, he's divorced, They're always out drinking, Regan and Carter. They're always drinking, smoking, waking up at each other's house hungover, stinking of booze and fags, and going out in sweaty last night's clothes. It's fucking brilliant. Love it. Really good. It's just solid series. Stoppo Driver, that's a good one. A gang boss plans to blackmail a flying squad driver into driving a getaway car. Very good. Series 2 just carries on with that, really. There's a good episode called Super Snout. It's got this horrible... So Snout is a snitch, and the Snout's this guy's he's always sniffing, some kind of Vicks inhaler. But he basically gives dodgy information, and the guy who takes over the operation from Haskins basically ruins his career. He's a damn good copper. I think Regan might beat him up. Regan often beats up criminals in this. There's an episode, it's Golden Fleece, 2 Australians commit 11 armed robberies. So this stars Patrick Moore and George, I think it's George Layton, from An 8 Half Hot Mum. It's quite comical, this episode. You do have a lot of comedy in the Sweeneys. And I think they appear up again in Trojan Bus episode, 2 Australians hijack a bus. So they get away with it in the first one. The final episode concerns hostage thing at a bank that's really good. I like that. And you get Hit and Run, which is the 5th episode, which is where Carter's wife is not hit and run, she's killed by a hit and run driver. So this is quite interesting because, you realise Carter's got a wife, but it actually removes her from the narrative, and it means you can get up to more, business with Jack. But the guy who's the hit and run driver is a used car dealer, played by Patrick Troughton, who's the second Doctor Who, also in Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger. Really good. Then you go to series 3. Again, this is still keeping the same credit sequence. Really good episodes. Bad Apple, that's where he's investigating police corruption. Sweet Smell of Succession, that's a good one. And the last episode of the series is great. Episode called On the Run. Violent psychopath Tim Cook absconds from custody during a hospital visit. Now, he actually appears in another episode, I think. But this guy playing Cookie is brilliant. Forget the name of the actor, he's called George something or other. Apologies. But he's great. He's an absolute psycho. Great stuff. Now you've got series 4, so this is where the credit sequence changes. It kind of has a kind of honeycomb sort of effect, triangles, and they change the car. So they have a Granada kind of Mark 1 for the first few series, and now they get the new Granada. So I'd say this series maybe it's not quite as good, but there's a brilliant episode, Money, Money, Money. Actually, it's here, Nightmare. Lorry contains the guys hijacked and one of the robbers, plus the driver is killed. Apologies, this is where Regan goes undercover with Tash as a driver. My favourite episode is one called Money, Money, Money. So this concerns an ex-con called Eddie Monk who's gone straight and Regan's friendly with. And he gets killed by a guy called Fisher. And the end of the episode's great, is he? Often in the Sweeney, they'll go, "You're nicked." So at the end of this episode, Regan is totally apoplectic with rage. He goes, "You're Nick Fisher." He's beating him up because he's so enraged about the death of Eddie Monk, and George has to pull him off. And this is quite a common thing in the Sweeney, where either Jack or George has to pull each other off and beating up a villain and getting in trouble. Yeah. And then you got Feet of Clay. Alan and son Paul is kidnapped with Ramson of 10,000. Now this is a good episode. This is one where Jack, it's a fit up job. And Jack goes, "You don't smell right, son," I think. Really good. That's great. And another one, actually going back, is Taste of Fear. Now this is the one that first features the Cook character. So Norman Eshley, yeah, so he was in George and Mildred. He's in it as like a young cop with a young family. But he doesn't really, he's kind of hiding the fact that he can't really take life in the flying squad. He beats up a snout called Tuck Pendleton really badly. He's played by the guy who's the caretaker in Are You Being Served? And they get the name of the actor. But it's really good. That's a really good episode. Sorry, I've gone backwards there. But yeah, it's just tying in with those two episodes. So the final episode is Jack or Knave. This is really good. Regan is accused of corruption. Security officer murdered during a payroll snatch. And Regan's put under a microscope, and at the end, he's had enough. He walks away from the flying squad. And his final speech is really good. And I think that's the thing. Although Regan and Carter bend the rules, they are honest coppers. They don't take money, they don't take bribes, they're not corrupt in that respect. The other thing is, this show is so successful, they actually made two feature films which are really good. There's the Sweeney from 1977, the Sweeney 2 1978. And what's interesting about these, they have more violence, they actually have nudity, sex and swearing, particularly in the Sweeney 2, there's got a lot of F-bombs. Proper 18 certificate, and they're good. Difficult to pick my favourite. They kind of got different. But yeah, they rebooted the film, did a version of the film with Ray Winston and that rapper guy. It was actually quite good fun, but it couldn't capture the magic of the TV show. This is a brilliant show. Absolutely love it. Along with The Professionals, it was just staple 1970s viewing. This is one of those shows that really does stand the test of time, but it's also a great period piece, a great look at that era. Forgive me sort of going backwards there in my episode guide. You could go down a rabbit hole and look at the episodes in this, because there's very few episodes of the Sweeney that are poor. Just finishing off and remembering there's an episode with Diana Dawes, which is very funny, and you also had a really good episode like Morecambe and White in, which is very funny. And some of the guest stars, just looking here, you've got Joss Ackland, Tony Anholt, Linda Bellingham, Hywel Bennett, Brian Blessed, James Booth, Simon Callow's in it, Cheryl Campbell, Warren Clark, George Cole, who would later work with Dennis Waterman on Minder, John Rhys Davies, Diana Dawes, I mentioned Leslie Ann Down, Arthur English, that's it, that's the guy who plays Tuck Pendleton, Norman Ashley, Roy Kinnear's in it, Geraldine James, Del Henney's in it, Ian Hendry, obviously mentioned him before, Julian Glover, he of For Your Eyes Only fame, Game of Thrones, Ronald Fraser, Ronald Lacey, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Alan Lake, formerly married to Diana Dawes, Linda LaPlante's in it before she became a writer of TV. You've got Warren Mitchell, goes on T.P. McKenna, he's in Straw Dogs, Doctor Who, June Brown's in it, R.I.P. her of Dr. Cotton fame, Catherine Schell, Tony Selby, I mean, massive, Geoffrey Palmer, Nicola Paget, loads of faces from British TV of this era, so I'm just leaving Michael Elphick there as well. So yeah, great, that's my TV recall on the Sweeney, check it out, brilliant show, thanks very much, remember to share and subscribe, thank you.